Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah. Still Poddable, still Poddable. Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Banner 18.
J. King Jam packet in the B-roll.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Jay-Z wet in the catalog.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The kids are legends to go.
Still Poddable, still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics, still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah.
I just had to go to a bathroom.
What's up? We are back with Still Poddable, the greatest Celtics podcast ever. I'm Jay King from The Athletic, here with Brian Robb from MassLive.com. For one of the first times in a while, we have Celtics news, real Celtics news. For the first time all offseason, the Celtics signed a player who wasn't on their team before. It is a huge day for Lonnie Walker, who just joined the.
Is it though? Is it
the champion? It is a big day for us because we get something to talk about that isn't the same old stuff. It's Lonnie Walker Day. It's Lonnie Walker Day. What were your thoughts upon seeing that Brad Stevens used a 15th spot? Lonnie kind of has a training camp contract, so he'll have to make good on it. We'll see how it goes. But he is a relatively proven guy who has shown that he can make threes at a high volume.
Yeah, it's honestly the first thing. I was a little bit stunned by this from a perspective that Lonnie Walker would be willing to take this type of deal at this point. Like you said, Jay, it's an Exhibit 10. It's a training camp deal. He's coming off of a year in Brooklyn where he posted fine numbers, mostly coming off the bench for them. Certainly is one of the best available free agent guards out there in the market still. But there's no clear path to minutes in Boston and may not even be a clear path to a roster spot based on how it goes. So from the Celtics perspective, this is a huge win. You get in a guy with essentially no risk, and if he blows you away, you can keep him. Or if an injury happens and it makes sense to keep him, you do, Jay. But like, I don't know, if you're Lonnie Walker and this is the best that you have on the market right now, I guess that just says how tough life is for guys of his ilk that are still out there.
Yeah, and so he shot about 10 threes per 36 minutes. I'm going to use per 36 minutes because I think it makes more sense to do that. Comparing guys who play a lot of minutes to comparing guys who don't play a lot. So 9.6 threes per 36 minutes he shot and hit 38.4% of them. So it was a very good shooting year for him. He has only shot 35.6% from deep for his career. So if he's not as good a shooter as he was last year, it changes things. If he's a better shooter because he's in Boston and getting better looks and just knocking shots down around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that also changes things. But he is like there are reasons why he was available this late in the summer, and he's not a very good defender. His defensive EPM numbers, obviously that's not like the only input that you look at when you're gauging someone's defense, but have always been negative. I don't think he's ever been positive in that stat. And he also is kind of a chucker. He doesn't really love to pass. But he is coming off his best year. He is a former first-round pick with a lot of athleticism, and he averaged 20 points per 36 minutes last season. So he can fill it up. It's just a matter of whether he fills it up efficiently, whether he can play within a team concept, and whether the Celtics can coach him up to play defense, because if you don't play defense, I don't think you're going to get on the court for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of speaks to the market at large for guys of his ilk right now, of the chugger types, like you said, Jay. If it's whether you're Celtics or any other team, it's like if you can't play defense and you're not really helping the team overall beyond getting your shots, then clearly his value is pretty minimal right now. I think, you know, he played those 4 years with the Spurs, took a 1 year mid-level deal with the Lakers, had that, you know, I think magical moment against the Warriors in the playoffs a couple years ago where he had that monster fourth quarter.
He ended the Warriors dynasty.
Yeah, he ended the Warriors dynasty single-handedly. But that year, I think overall, and with Lakers, the disappointment, he, you know, kind of got pushed to the side out of the rotation for the second half of the season. And then didn't, like you said, but put up good numbers last year in Brooklyn, but clearly those were empty numbers in the eyes of many when factoring in the whole part of his game. So him and I can kind of, you can make the case for it, Jay, like, but part of me wonders still of like with the flexibility involved, I don't, unless I kind of lean like I'm not expecting him to make the team based on where the Celtics depth is in the backcourt, the potential needs they might have to want to bring in an extra big if someone else gets hurt. Again, a lot of this will just be dependent on health, I feel like maybe, but it's certainly, I think, going to be an uphill battle for him. But he's going to clearly betting on himself with this type of a deal. Let's take a break here to hear from our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, which I think is very useful so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players get injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your picks are still live. I know personally with Prize Picks, I'll be looking at the NFL season here. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback for the Patriots, so I'll be looking what his passing yards are out of the gate. Probably will take the under on that one. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be crazy for them to use that 15th spot on him. And
no, if he had a great preseason, like,
and
by all means,
keep it open to waiving him or trading him before the deadline for his entire contract to become guaranteed arrives.
Right.
So something like that, and that at the very worst, like he can end up in Maine. That's what Exhibit 10 contracts allow you to do.
The Celtics would love that.
Yeah, and obviously he would have a much better pedigree, resume than most guys in that similar situation. But obviously he signed this contract, so either there weren't a lot of options for him or he really wanted to be in Boston, and he's trying to make it work and trying to be part of a winner and trying to kind of salvage his career and convince people that he's a winning type of player, because like you said, he had a solid year individually in Brooklyn. They didn't win many games. It was kind of a mess over there. It's easy to look at his playing style and his defense and just wonder if it will actually help a good team. Obviously, in LA, he had moments. And I just don't know, like, so it's kind of a weird signing to me because everybody else on the team is just kind of like fit into the team concept, loves being like complementary piece to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And this is just a new type of player. And maybe that's what they wanted. It was like just a guy who can fill it up off the bench and really, go nuclear at times and carry you for a 5-minute stretch where he hits a bunch of threes and hits a bunch of shots and that's okay. But like from a standpoint of, and I know nothing about Lonnie Walker as a person, like truly nothing, but just the way he plays basketball, he really gets shots up. He had a 24% usage rate in Brooklyn last season. Obviously, it's not going to be the same in Boston, but when he was in LA, he was next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Obviously, he still had a usage rate over 20, which for a bench guy in a situation like that is still pretty high. So he's going to get him up. He's going to try to score. He's going to try to get his own offense. And I think maybe Celtics are okay with adding a talent like that, but it's just could be a weird fit in this ecosystem. It could be the case where they felt like at this point of the summer they had to add somebody with the talent like that. But I'm not sure that he is the winning piece. And he'll have to prove that he is, I guess, and that's why he's on an Exhibit 10. So interesting signing.
And Jay, I know you're gonna have to go in a minute here, but I want to get one question for you, and then I can wrap things up for us after talking a little bit more about the roster. But in a perfect world in your mind, like what is if he comes in and impresses, how much of a could this signing also potentially be like, listen, Drew Holiday is 34 now. Like we have a bunch of guys at the end of the, maybe in 11 slots, 11 through 15. Like we don't know what Jaden Springer is yet. Like, could this be an insurance play of being like, all right, this is a guy who can potentially fill it up on random nights. And so we don't have to lean so much on, a guy like Drew.
I doubt it. If that ends up happening, the Celtics would be thrilled, obviously, but you don't sign a 15th guy thinking one day he's going to replace Drew Holiday.
It's true.
Like I just don't see Brad Stevens in his office thinking to himself, yeah, guys, we got the Drew Holiday succession plan. Lonnie Walker.
Or just give him the night off, like the 10 nights a year, an extra game is for Drew to take off.
Additional depth is helpful, and I think the Celtics have gotten better, have gotten good at trying not to waste roster spots and going after guys with upside, going after guys with untapped potential. And I think Lonnie Walker is that kind of guy. And if he hits, he could really hit. Like he is a very good athlete who has shown he can fill it up. It's just, can he do all the other things to kind of help a team win? We'll see on that.
Football season is back, and it is your opportunity to get in on the action with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks makes it easier to save on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. Any tickets that you want, you can get through the Game Time app. They have all-in pricing. This feature allows you to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, panoramic views from the seat in the app before you buy. That comes with a lowest price guarantee, or if not, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And then Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
All right, well, we're going to fare thee well to you right now. We'll hear more from you on Lonnie as the the weekend rolls on as we get back to Podmore next week. But in the meantime, I'm going to kind of start to go through the rest of the roster here. And because it is an interesting fit when you look step by step here in the backcourt and you wonder, okay, how is this going to work guy by guy here? And the guys I look at for this situation is Jaden Springer, who had a nice little summer league, I feel like, where he played a game, and that was literally all the team needed to see out of him. Didn't have to play that based on the fact he was a fourth-year guy, but there's opportunity for him this year. With Svi out the door, with Chris Hop's injury, and he, from a size perspective, from a speed perspective, is an intriguing guy that the team gave up a real second-round pick for last year at the trade deadline, and we didn't see him make any real impact in those games. But if Walker being in camp, I think, is a fascinating subplot to James Springer. That's someone that he's going to have to battle against, to earn opportunity against. Certainly someone it's going to be tough to guard defensively in practice. Is a Lonnie Walker type when if those guys go head to head much in camp. And so that's an interesting part of it here. We already hit on the Jrue Holiday part of it, I feel like, where he's coming off a gold medal. He's 34 years old. He's not going to get the full Al Horford treatment of rest on back-to-backs and a situation where we're going to send him away for 2 or 3 weeks. He's in as good a shape as anyone on this team. But if you look over the course of his career, he has been injury prone at times. And he is someone that you probably ideally don't want to be playing 32, 33 minutes per game at this stage. If you can get that number down to 29, 30, et cetera, or just get him just more nights off. He played 69 games last year. If you get that number down to somewhere between 60 and 65, that is more ideal. And so you look at this roster, this last season, they did not have to deal with any major injuries to their backcourt. Derek White is durable as hell. Jrue Holiday had minor stuff with his arm and elbow at points of the year, but no serious absences. Payne Pritchard, another guy who is very, very healthy throughout the course of his career. Very, very durable for a guy of his size, which is huge. So they have not really had to worry much about deep bench backcourt depth before. And not that Lonnie Walker, this signing opens the door to that, because again, it is an Exhibit 10. It is a situation where he's probably has an uphill battle to make this team due to the money implications, due to the possibility that the Celtics need that roster spot for a big more than a guard. But if you look down the line of the bench, beyond White, Jrue Holiday, and Payne Pritchard, there's not a ton of guys that you can trust at this point. When you had Springer, you have, Jordan Walsh is more of a wing than a guard, but certainly he did not think acquit himself very well in Summer League this year. So it's hard to think that right now, okay, that is a guy that we can count on, to be able to throw in spot duty here. And then you have Baylor Shireman, who is a bit of a wild card there, but his size-wise, I think he's certainly going to be playing and guarding closer to like 4s as opposed to 2s, just based on what he can handle from a defensive standpoint. And so now it's like you go through that list of guys and it's like, all right, who, if injuries do arise to someone, to White, Holiday, or Pritchard, like where would we go in that situation if Porzingis is out? And I don't think there's a clear-cut answer there with the guys that are on the roster. And so taking a flyer on a Lonnie Walker type is intriguing to me from that standpoint, because that's a guy who's certainly, even if he makes the team, is not going to be pushing for minutes every night. Will certainly probably be out of the rotation. But if an injury arises, that's a NBA proven player. And maybe you get him in the right position scheme-wise, buying in defensively under Joe Mazzulla. Like, he's got athleticism. All right, let's take a break here to hear from our sponsor, Factor. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Feel for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. I know personally, at home, myself, my wife, my son Zach, getting mealtime ready is a big chore a lot. So Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? There's 35 different meals to choose, more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. So you'll have a ton, a new variety to choose from. You can make every day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Keep kitchen time to the minimum. That's been huge for us. No shopping, no prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. They're ready for you. Just warm them up and enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. So head to factormeals.com/greenteam50 and use code greenteam50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code greenteam50 at factormeals.com/greenteam50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. And now back to the show. The advanced numbers for him, as Jay pointed out, have been pretty miserable. But maybe you get him in the right system, surrounded by the right teammates, and he becomes just average defensively or just slightly below average defensively. And that makes it enough where his offensive upside is able to counteract those defensive weaknesses. And so from that standpoint, it's a fun gamble. And so what his contract is essentially too, which is an interesting element of this, the Exhibit 10 is essentially a non-guaranteed deal. But if the Celtics end up waiving him and he goes on and plays for the Maine Celtics in the G League, then he'll get $77,000 extra as like a bonus just for that. So he is now incentivized to stay in the system with the Celtics if he ends up getting cut. Now, obviously, if any other NBA team wants him or claims when he's on waivers and that, becomes none, maybe he goes there. He's obviously going to take any NBA chance he gets at this point. But I'd assume at the very least, this deal was available. This type of deal certainly was available for him from a lot of different teams. And so he picked the Celtics for a reason. He's certainly a guy that needs to kind of rebuild his value. And how well he can actually do that in Boston remains to be seen, given the tough road he has to getting minutes there. And you look at a guy like O'Shea Brissett, who came here last year on a 1-year deal at the minimum and thought he could show off his skills. And he obviously was a great fit behind the scenes, but on the court was kind of yanked around the rotation early on in the year and eventually faded out of it and never really put together strong, consistent minutes, over multiple weeks. And he's still out in the open market right now. I assume he can get a better deal than this that Lonnie Walker got from some team with maybe more guaranteed money involved. But it does make you wonder, just guys of that ilk in their mid-20s that don't have have some type of limitation with, in Brissett's case, shooting, in Lonnie Walker's case, defense. It's becoming tougher for these guys to get the type of deals that they want. And if you don't strike early in his career, Lonnie Walker's situation is fascinating since he walked from the Spurs 2 years ago without a rookie extension, took kind of a sweetheart deal with the Lakers, and that did not work out well for him, where he just had to settle for minimum deal with the Nets. And now he's on to new reps from an agent standpoint. And I think that's a byproduct of he's in a pretty tough spot in his career. If he's already setting for this, we're at a point where he should be in his in his prime from an age standpoint. So it's a situation where most of all, I'm just stunned that he had to settle for this type of deal at this point. As I talked to Jay about, he's had the proven track record of being able to be a spark plug in the playoffs as recently as 2 years ago in that series with the Lakers. And then he had a fine year, a really good shooting year with the Nets, but that's not enough right now. When things are getting tighter, teams have their priorities in terms of, all right, we want to win right now, or we're building for the future. And Walker is a type of guy where he doesn't fit into either of those categories right now for a lot of teams. So now if he wants to be able to show, okay, I can be a winner, I can contribute to that. And I do know that the Celtics did have interest in him at the trade deadline last year. They inquired on him because he was one of the few guys that would have fit from a salary standpoint in a deal. And, Brad Stevens clearly made the right call to stick with what he had beyond bringing aboard Xavier Tillman, brought everyone in from who was clearly headfirst into a team first mindset. That worked out quite well for this group. And so now going forward, it's going to be fascinating to see what the situation looks like for him. And the Celtics still have a couple other open roster spots heading into training camp. They have filled up all their two-way spots with Drew Peterson, J.D. Davidson, Anton Watson. We know Ron Harper Jr. is going to be there on Exhibit 10. So there'll be a couple other training guys in there, but there'll be probably no one else realistically in contention for the 15th roster spot at that point, outside of maybe one of those two-way guys if they, blow the team away. But other than that, this is a team right now where I thought they're pretty close to set. So, but when there are still intriguing names on the open market, you wonder if we'll see another deal or two of this type, because I thought this was a type of deal that the Celtics would go a lot more for at the start of the summer, or just be able to lure in some free agents of this type, being like, hey, if you want to win, if you want to have a really good chance at a ring, come here. And that's something that this team hasn't had, obviously, for a very long time. The fact that they brought everyone back certainly limited this opportunity as a selling point, even in the wake of the Porzingis injury. But now at least one guy is buying on that, and his name is Lonnie Walker, and he will be in camp with the Celtics as they start off training camp in about a month from now. So it's a fun little angle for us to look at. We'll keep talking more about him. We'll check in more with Jay and Jam about this next week, see how the dominoes start to fall around the rest of the roster. But this is a pretty fascinating deal, a fascinating way to end August, and adds a little bit of intrigue to training camp, because listen, for as hard it is for him to earn a spot with this team, if he plays well enough, I think the door is open there, because he's the type of guy who can be an extra spark plug off your bench. And if one more injury hits with this team, they may very well need that, especially in the first 2 months of the regular season with Porzingis out. So that's it for now. My name is Brian Robb for Jay King. Thanks for checking us out on CLNS YouTube. Thanks to our sponsors, Prize Picks, Game Time as well. And we will catch you guys in the episode later this week.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Go down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.